Thank you for making it for this session. So today I'll be doing a deep dive on scattered spider based attacks and present a solution for detection. Before we get started, I'll just do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Shivakumar Buruganahalli. I'm the Senior Director of Customer Engineering and Disruption Strategy at Acalvia Networks. And I've been in cybersecurity, space, and disruption for a very long time. Now let's go over today's agenda. The first thing is we'll be starting with the scatter spider. We'll look at the attack cycles. We'll do the TTPs. We will do the identity exploits in the cloud. And then we'll delve into the why cloud control plane is an important target. Then I'll talk about threat detection challenges in the cloud. And finally, last session, I will talk about detection and countermeasures. Now, there are a lot of things to cover because scatter spider touches everything. Well, in this ever-evolving world of cyber threats, there's never been a dull moment. There's always an attack. There's always something happening. There's a new malware. There's a new ransomware. There's a new attack. There's a new threat group. There's a new TTP. So it's very hard to keep up with all of these things. And we need to, as security practitioners, we really need to stay ahead in the game. We need to stop these guys from disrupting our lives. It's all our lives, I'm telling you, in one way or the other. Now, a bit of background about scatter spider. So how many of you guys really heard about scatter spider or know anything about scatter spider? Good, excellent. That means, okay, they go by different names, AKA, UNC 3944, scatter swine, all the other stuff. A bit of background. So these were a bunch of college kids. They started gaming, basically Roblox, Minecraft. They got bored of that. They kind of started doing crypto stealing, and then they got bored of that, or as part of trying to do crypto scaling, they wanted to hack the identities to aid crypto stealing. Now, once they did that, then they said, hey, it's so simple. If we can do it for crypto, if I can do it for games, why not enterprise? They shifted focus and started attacking enterprises. And that's when probably around 2022, they become a big threat. And in addition, they became affiliate of a ransomware group called as Alpha Black Hat, which provides ransomware as a service. So these guys open the doors, they penetrate into the enterprise, and they bring in, at the very end, they bring in the affiliate who goes and then deploys this ransomware, and then boom, they take over the actual, or take down the whole enterprise. Now, if you look at the verticals they have touched, they have pretty much across every vertical. The list is like insurance, hotel, resale, casinos, and then financial, airlines. So they have pretty much touched everything. That's why it's a nasty group. So they have exactly disrupted all our lives, financial loss, everything. Now, let's spend some time and then take a look at each of the attack cycle. This is the most important one. The very first attack, as they started, they first get the initial access. To get the initial access, all they do is they call the help desk, they impersonate an employee. These days, getting information about an employee from LinkedIn is so simple, or not just social media, LinkedIn, everywhere. Once you get that information, this is not like a high-ranking employee. This is just a low, non-privileged, or standard simple user working for probably an IT admin group or something like that. So they get the information, they call the help desk, they say, hey, I need to get a password reset for this particular account. And they convince, the thing is, they convince, using social engineering, they have mastered the technique because they did the same thing for crypto. They convince, they get a password reset, though, so they bypass all the MFA. There are a lot of, they do SIM and then all kinds of things, voice phishing. And they bypass MFA and they get a password reset. Once they get the password reset, boom, they are inside the enterprise. Now they became an insider. Okay, this is the important aspect. They became an insider. This is not an external threat anymore. The next phase is, once they're on the inside, what do? You go reconnaissance. You do lateral movement. Once you're inside, you're trying to learn about the networks. You're trying to understand what are the critical crown jewels, what are the critical data, where is the wiki pages. Every enterprise has all the data presented in like Jira, wiki pages, Confluences, documents, product docs, financial documents, everything is there, SharePoints, right? You have all that information. So they do reconnaissance to capture all of this information, and that gives them an idea of the enterprise. And once you have the actual information, the next thing is they figure out what are the security groups they need to go and target. Who are the administrators? So once they get this information, they repeat the same thing. They go attack one particular, or they choose one particular individual, gather all the information, again go call, make the help desk call saying that, hey, I need a password reset. So once they get access to this, boom, now they have a privileged access into the, or they got a privileged credential access in the enterprise, which is the most dangerous thing they wanted to do. Okay, now they got privileged access. Now what do? They target the vCenter. The vCenter is the control plane. The vCenter is the actual management plane. So they log on to the vCenter. vCenter has access to all of the ESXi hosts in the enterprise. So once they get access to that, so they can really go do other things, which is the next phase of attacks, which is like going to be, they go enable SSH. So as security practitioner best practices, we would have disabled all SSH for all the ESXi hosts. They go enable all of them. They reset the passwords, so they kind of take the control of the whole enterprise. And once they are there on the vCenter ESXi host, the next thing they do is, typically in any of the enterprise, the domain is hosted. When I say domain, I mean the Active Directory DC servers. They are hosted on these virtualized servers, which is nothing but ESXi hosts. So they go target these domain controllers, power down one of them, detach the disk, attach to another VM. Now, once they get access to that particular VM, they go copy the file, which is ntds.dit. This is nothing but this file, or this file system has all of your credentials, Kerberos tickets, everything stored on this particular file system. So they get access to this, they capture this data, and the next phase is nothing but exfiltration. They exfiltrate all of this data. Okay, so basically the enterprise is compromised. They exfiltrate all of this data. And in the last phase, they bring in the actual ransomware, they deploy the ransomware for all of the ESXi hosts. What does that do? It goes and then kind of encrypts every data store. Everything that's available, every VM, every data store, every SharePoint, it's going to go and encrypt. Boom, the whole enterprise has been compromised, and it has kind of shut down. Now, what is unique about this cyber group? There are so many other cyber groups. What is unique about this? The first thing is, they're not using any specialized malware. They're just excel in social engineering. All they have done is they got access to the no phishing. There's no phishing, there's no malware. So think about the detection. There's nothing happening. And suppose if I impersonate one of you or one of the employee, how does any of them detect, oh, this is the employee, he's doing something illegal? No, it's very hard, because IT people go do all of these things. Every day, they take care of all of the VMware servers, they do management, they do all kinds of things. So everything is like super hard to disrupt or even detect. Now, the other part is they've weaponized identity. Identity is the perimeter these days, because with the cloud, there's no perimeter. Identity is the perimeter. So they have weaponized identity as attack vector. And the whole attack, starting from penetrating to the actual detection, the whole cycle happens in like few hours. It's own. It's not like days, few hours, because they have perfected the whole thing. It's not like, oh, they're doing slowly. No, these are a bunch of kids. They don't have patience. They're like TikTok. Yeah, essentially. And so they have history, and also like these kids, they have a history of trying to attack on-prem as well as the cloud. They have adapted themselves. Now, they target the cloud plane. That's why I'm going to talk about each of them. There are various things to talk about to really understand the depthness of this particular situation. In terms of data harvesting, let's just take a look. They have access to the Office 365. They have harvested data from Teams, SharePoints, exchanges, usernames, accounts, domains, security groups. They have all the nt.dit, the whole AD is gone, vCenter access, and also they do perform code stealing. They go to the CI CD pipeline, they do the code. Basically, they're not leaving anything. They don't want to leave back anything. Grab whatever is possible within the 2 hours. And it's not that they have scripts, they have automation. It just goes and does all of these things for them. They don't even know what they're doing. And they are associated with one of the highest ransomware demands. Okay, switching gears, let's touch upon a couple of things. What is the rise of the cloud-conscious adversary? So, like, as technology is evolving, they are kind of evolving too. They are aware of the cloud. For example, it's AWS, Google, whatever is the cloud deployed in a particular environment, they're already aware of it. And they're targeting all the cloud-specific assets and native workloads. Now, in terms of the cloud exploits, I'll just touch upon this. I have a lot of other things to cover. The infrastructure as a service as well as the SaaS as a service. So they are kind of disrupting both. They are touching both of them, trying to disrupt the whole thing. Now, just let's take a look, the same attack cycle for cloud. It's the same process, it's the same flow. They call the same employee, so once they are inside the enterprise, now they go after cloud assets. Probably it's a separate team. That's what I believe. It's a separate team which goes like they are specialized in cloud. So some people are specialized in enterprise. So they do parallel. And they get access to the Azure admin. Once you get access to the Azure admin, then the next thing is they do recon. Within Azure space or within the Azure cloud, we want to see what kind of assets are running. Is it like EC2? Is it the containers? Is it the data stores? They go look at all of them. They gather all of this data. Now, once they have this data, they are actually doing all of this reconnaissance or all of this intelligence gathering all from just Azure CLI. So how hard is it to detect? Just think about it. Everybody does, because every developer, every DevOps person, every person working in the cloud, in the enterprise, they all be doing this. So it's very hard to detect. And boom, they got access, they get the same privileged access, and once they get access, they are in the cloud. Now, this slide, it's combining everything together. The enterprise attack as well as the cloud attack. So for user account, they're able to get the passwords, they're in. The next thing is they're doing persistence, and they're able to access the cloud. Next, based on credentials, they're able to dump credentials on the endpoint from the hashes or from the Kerberos tickets. They're able to even gather that information and then finally deploy ransomware. So ransomware, if it is ESXi host, they have a separate set of scripts. If it is Azure, they have a separate set of scripts. Means it's all automated. There's nothing trying. They have mastered it. Now let's look at the detection challenges. So since they are not using any malware, there's absolutely nothing to detect. There's no phishing. There's no malware. And identity-centric. It's very hard. How do you figure out that a working person like a DevOps person doing his work, normal job for his day, whether he's really the person doing it or is it a threat actor? How do you identify? Because they have owned that particular credential. And this is like for 2 hours or 3 hours done. It's not like, oh, for days. No, they are not doing that. Just for like 2-3 hours. Even before the other guy realizes, oh, I've been locked out of my account, these guys are done. And they're just living off the land and living off the cloud in terms of the tools. They're not bringing any new tools. They don't need any new toolkit. But in the last phase, before they deploy ransomware, they bring in a lot of things for data exfiltration. But other than that, they are not doing anything different from an actual employee. And they use all of the modern things like, for example, Data Azure Factory to exfiltrate data. So in terms of the thing, identity-centric, API-based, native features, nothing new. Outcome is fast, semi-automated, and it's similar to DevOps, just like any other job. Now, in this slide, I'm going to map all of these different techniques to MITRE. So this is the most important thing, because for every malware or every crime group, we try to see what are the different techniques, what are the different techniques they are trying to use, and then this is the mapping. So if you look at this, it's the same initial access, persistence, physical escalation, defense, evasions, nobody can detect this, credential access, and of course, data collection and exfiltration. So pretty much they're touching all different tactics and under the different techniques. And if one doesn't work, they have another thing, another technique working. So they just deploy that. Okay, now let's again switch gears and then focus on the cloud. So let's look at the cloud challenges. So in terms of the cloud, it's very dynamic, and the workloads are ephemeral. Like, for example, it's elastic. Okay, there's a load, there's a new job to be done. A particular VM gets spun off, and then the whole load is, the whole job is going to, or service is going to run. And as soon as it's done, it's kind of turned off, it's gone. So that is gone. So things are very, very dynamic. It's not like static servers like in 10 years before or in the enterprise. It's all very, very dynamic loads. And also the loads, the workloads, these days they can move from the enterprise to the cloud. Wherever is cheaper, it can just run there and then be back into the enterprise. And there's multiple path of identity. So I'm going to talk about that. And think about the volume of logs you have to look or to analyze to even figure out, hey, something is happening. And there are a variety of log sources. And there are tons of services. Now, the next topic is about the cloud attack surface, where there is a data plane and a control plane. So I'm just trying to build complexities. And in the final stage, I'll put all of them together. So the data plane, what is a data plane? So the data plane is nothing but it handles all of the data processing, service, storage, workloads. Basically, essentially workloads are services. It involves VMs, containers, DBs, and storage services. These are all targeted by adversaries because exploiting is very easy. You exploit the workload, there are some vulnerabilities with a particular service, you exploit it, you got access to a particular VM, a particular container. This is, I'm saying from external. As a external threat, you compromise one of the web services hosted, and that's nothing but you are actually touching the data plane. And there can be cloud misconfigurations. There can be, and once they get into any of these misconfigurations, they kind of escalate privileges by doing credential dumping or lateral movement. And everything is exploited using APIs and workloads. And data exfiltration using outbounds, it's again another act. So if you look at the impact, at the end of the day, the summary is, or the key takeaway is that if you look at the impact, it's just confined to one particular VM, one particular service, one particular data, one particular customer. Okay, it's bad, but it's confined. Now, I will talk about the control plane, and then let's contrast the actual severity. So what is a control plane? Control plane is nothing but the core layer managing all cloud resources. Okay, I highlighted the word all. Any cloud resources you can think of. Okay, be it Azure, be it any cloud, doesn't matter. Everything is managed from that control plane. So once you get access to the control plane, basically you're an insider. You're like the actual DevOps person doing it, including governance, orchestration, everything. And then this is targeted because once they get access, how do you get access to this particular control plane? By exploits. Again, exploits. They get stolen API credentials, or basically again identities. Now let's look at the scale and impact. think about you're giving away all of your crown jewel, which is nothing but the control plane or the access to the control plane for any Azure cloud or even for enterprise to the attacker, and then it's impacting everything. Think about it. So the actual attacker now he can create his own accounts, he can spin VMs. I have heard instances where the attackers, they go create crypto, they just create cryptos for crypto harvesting, and in one of the cases, the actual cost of running this particular VM was equivalent to the whole enterprise cost for 1 month. So they are doing all nasty things. So the severe is impact, next is what makes the control plane a target. I'll say it's a soft target. Once you're on the inside, it's a soft target. It provides a level of access. So we need to understand, see, when we talk about networking, network access, or that was completely, I'll say, that's a completely benign in comparison with this attack. Because when you get access to network, you still have to go through firewalls. You need to get access through all of them. You don't have access to credentials. See, network access doesn't give you any credentials. You're just trying to do recons, which can be blocked, which can be detected. Those things are simple. That's why I say it's pretty low severity attack. Now, in comparison, you are trying to look at the actual control plane. So basically, essentially, you're giving away the keys to the kingdom. That's what we call them, the keys to the kingdom. Now, what can they do? They can spin off new VMs, exfiltrate large volumes of data, they encrypt all the data and exfiltrate. The best part, they go about disabling all monitoring logs, delete all their traces, cover up all of their traces, and no control plane or any of these attacks cannot be detected by any of the EDRs because it's you. The actual identity is you. And it can, in one of the, so let's say there's a cloud provider, like for example, Salesforce. If they get impacted, Snowflakes, Databricks, if they get impacted in the cloud, that means he can get access to multiple customers. I'll just leave it there. Now let's look at what are the detection and defensive countermeasures that can be employed to prevent or even first detect and then prevent such attacks. So before we jump in this, the 3 things I want you to really remember is, one is identity has been weaponized. The second aspect is this is similar to insider threat. Disgruntled employee, suppose a disgruntled employee goes about doing all kinds of things. It's very hard to detect. And the third one is the targeting the control plane, which gives them complete access to the whole enterprise. So what is the solution? The solution is what we call as honey accounts and honey tokens. So let's jump into that. So what are honey tokens? What are honey accounts? Basically, honey accounts are nothing but deceptive accounts created specifically to target the adversary. See, if adversaries can just walk in the network without any rules, means this is a joke I tell everyone. For the employee, there are so many rules. Hey, don't do that, do this, take this compliance test. But the actual attacker is walking around free in the network. Right? There's nothing to stop them, nothing to detect. Now, we are going to turn the tables around. Okay? What we are going to do is, we are going to go create honey accounts. For example, in the cloud, I'm going to create IAM accounts, roles, services, API keys, everything deceptive. When I say deceptive, it's all fake. It's not for any user. I'm going to create all of them. And the key is, I create them in such a way that it look realistic. It's juicy. It's active. So for an attacker is smart. He's not just going to pick any credential and then start working it. But these kids are different. They are, as I said, they are TikTok. They don't have time. They just grab anything and then keep going. But More stealth attackers, they wait. They want to make sure that this account is really valid. They do a lot more reconnaissance before they start using an attack. So in all of those scenarios, what we do is we try to make it as realistic as possible and create all of these fake accounts, sprinkle them everywhere. Now, once this account is created, now let's go to the next one, which is the honey tokens. So accounts are created. All of these accounts are associated with the actual secrets. For example, let's say there's an IAM account. IAM account has secrets and keys. So we create all of these fake accounts, fake keys. And then this goes hand in hand. All of these fake keys are pointing to the fake honey accounts. Okay, they're all hand in hand. Now, we add this to the cloud workloads. We distribute them. We add it to the cloud workloads. Examples, like where do we add? How do we embed them? Okay, so we embed all of these honey tokens across all cloud assets. For example, if you think of a compute instance, we have the instance metadata, because this is like we are thinking like an attacker or a hacker. Where all is going to look? Where is all the data? It's all in the, for example, in the compute instance, it's in the actual metadata. It can be in the bash history. If you log in to an EC2 instance, it can be in the bash history. It can be in the environment variables. It can be in so many places. This was one of the nightmares. Like before security, all of these things, like people used to put passwords, all kinds of credentials everywhere, distribute them across everywhere. This was a nightmare. So there are tons and tons of best practices. Hey, don't do that. Hey, don't do this. Just follow this, because of these reasons. So we put in all of those locations. Or it can be in the secret manager. We can even put it in the vault. Vault is another crown jewel. If you get access to the vault, gone again, right? So we create all kinds of fake assets within the vault. And we can do it in the Kubernetes cluster, third-party vendors. It can be also in the CI/CD pipeline. This is very, very powerful, because within the code, we can commit all kinds of code with the honey tokens. Honey tokens are nothing but it's like cookies, means just high level cookies, right? So we can commit to the code. For example, let's say there's a DB configuration. As part of that, there can be a README file saying that, hey, this is some password, this is the administrative account. We can put all kinds of information there. Attacker is going to read them. He's behind that, I'm telling you. And also, other thing they steal is the actual code signing certificates. If you get a code signing certificate, for example, from Microsoft or any of them, again, boom, all the executables are signed by them. Everything is valid. So they even go steal those. So we can also create around them. Then the next thing that we do is, once all the accounts once all of these tokens has been created, how do we distribute them? If we need to distribute, we kind of distribute all of these tokens across all of the enterprise. Now, let's look at the scenario, right? So we have all these fake assets. Only the person who has deployed these assets, or the fake assets or deceptive assets, is aware of them. But the actual external user, absolutely none. And I'm just scratching the surface. I'm not diving deep into this, but I'm just telling you on the surface, there are a lot more things can be done to make it a very live environment. Now, as the attacker comes in, as it does his reconnaissance, as it gathers or harvests the data from various locations, various sources, he gets all of this data. Now, let's say he picks any of them, he touches any of them, they're like mines deployed everywhere. It goes off, it gives alert. You don't have to do anything, no processing to be done. It just goes off mines, it gives you alert. That detection is the key, because once you have the detection, the enterprise is ready to handle the whole triage and all those things, remediation, everything. You need detection, and early detection is the key, I'm telling you. Early detection is the key. Okay, now let's look at the scenario where, let's say we have an environment where the honey token has been deployed. So you have seen how they were able to pilferage the actual environment when there's nothing stopping them. Now, on the contrary, let's look at the scenario where we have deployed the honey accounts in such an environment. And then how it stops, or how does it benefit in detection? Okay, the first thing is, again, the attacker compromises user account. Now, this is the standard OPRESS mode, and once they do that, they perform enumeration to identify admin roles. They are looking for something. They are looking for admin roles. The next thing is they do a deep reconnaissance to gather the role policies, because they want to know which particular user can be, or where there's a vulnerability, or which particular user can be exploited. And they want to do an assume role to that particular access or admin permission to escalate privileges. Again, this is in the cloud. So let's say step one, they compromise a particular user, and using that user, they're trying to enumerate all the IAM accounts specific to the cloud. So let's say there's a particular RDS admin role. They found that. Okay, excellent. Now, they went and looked at the actual policy for this particular admin role. They see that it says allow, and the resource is RDS. So that means they can do all enumeration, all activity on the RDS database. So they got this policy. Excellent. Now, once they get this policy, they can start, means they would have gone and done things. But in this case, I'm going to bring up two scenarios where we can catch them. The moment they, let's say, the particular assumed role that we have picked up one of the credentials, or the fake deceptive credentials that we have deployed, which has this assumed role. We have implanted the actual vulnerability. Let's say they want to exploit. The moment they go on, or they try to exploit that, boom, we got an attack. We got an alert. Right? This is like when they're trying to escalate privileges. Now, there's another possibility that in the very first stage where they got, or they're trying to take over a particular individual user account, even at that stage, let's say they picked up a deceptive account. Boom, you got right there. You're able to detect this particular activity right at the beginning of the whole attack. And then what you can do is you can go block, you can do all the response, you can just watch, monitor, and the best part is, if you have an early detection, you can take this particular signature or your particular instance and you can go do threat hunting. You want to say, hey, I found this. Is it possible that there are some similar attacks happening from the same source? You can do all the analysis, you can do all the analysis, and then you can correlate across your enterprise, and then you can go do threat hunting and then block all of those attacks. Or have you seen in the prior, there might have, like for example, in the previous day, they might have tried a lot more attacks. We never know. So all of those things you can uncover. So this is the IAM role. Now, let's go to the next one, which is the actual honey token. So in the enterprise, we have deployed both assets. We have created honey accounts in the IAM roles, which are all fake deceptive accounts. In addition to that, all of these tokens are nothing but cookies. It can be secrets, it can be keys, which are pointing to all of these assets. It can be SSH keys. There's a big list. All of these keys, you can even, for example, Kerberos tickets, you can name it, you can put all of that information there. You can create your own cookies. You can have your own session cookies, right? You can, all of this information, you can embed, and now I'll say it's a nightmare for the attacker. I'm going to talk about that. Okay, now let's say we have these honey tokens. Using the honey tokens, let's say the first scenario is the attacker, the same thing, he finds a SSH key on a publicly exposed bucket, which is pretty common. Okay, so this SSH key which got exposed because of a public bucket, it can be non-intentional or it can be intentional, right? So this is where we bring in. There are a lot of things that can be done. Let's say he got access to our keys. Now, once he gets it, he logs in using that key into the SSH server. He scans the host and then looks for, again, AWS credentials and that can be accessed. Means basically he's doing all of his data harvesting. So the more data he tries to harvest, he gets it. We give him the data. And then he logs in to the actual AWS CLI and then boom. So this is the flow. Now let's look at this flow, the same thing. How does it work with the honey tokens deployed? So the attacker finds the SSH keys. And then, so attacker knows he found some keys, some credentials, some tokens. But he doesn't know whether it is real or it's deceptive. Even the employees don't know. The only person who deploys this, he's the only person who's aware of what is real and what is not real. So we kind of merge the real world and the fake world. We create overlap. Let's say he found the keys, he's trying to log in. Let's say these keys are fake keys. Boom, you caught him right there, right at the entrance of the door. You caught him, and then you can do all the triage. Let's say it is like real keys, or then he goes to the next phase, which is basically he's trying to steal the AWS credentials. So as part of the AWS credentials, whatever he's already harvested this data. So as part of the data, he has already got a lot of tokens. Let's say he has harvested, from an enterprise, he has harvested a lot of data. It's not just one data. So once he gets all of this data, he is going to look at it and say which one is more meaningful, which one is more valuable for him to go and then escalate privileges. Let's say we have given him the right data. We have given him all the privileged data. He's going to take that, and then when he tries to do the CLI access, trying to access any of the Azure resources, trying to escalate privileges, boom, you got another alert. So this particular method, or the effectiveness of honey accounts and honey tokens deployed in the enterprise is the key for stopping the attacker. There's a small demo. I'll just play this demo. It's exactly trying to show what happens. So in this demo, let's say the attacker compromises a low privileged user. Now he looks at the user details. He got the information. And he lists all the different IAM roles to find the role which he is looking. Basically, that's a privileged. Now, once he finds that particular role, he does a deeper reconnaissance to grab the policy, the permissions, the actual permission associated with that account, and then he finds one which can give him, or which with he can do the actual escalate privileges. Now, attacker lists that particular thing. Now he retrieves the actual policy for that particular IAM role. Now he finds the role that the policy allows for a privilege escalation. Now the attacker attempts to ensure, again, like he got the access associated with the permissions. Now for that he has to do an assume role, and then he gets denied. That means he has triggered an alert. You have put a mine, he has touched on the mine, it just gave away. It revealed himself. And of course, based on that, we have the alert on the console. Now, switching gears, let's look at the strategies for a preemptive cyber defense. How do you use honey tokens for such a strategy? The very first thing is you have to think like an attacker. What are the locations he's going to look for? What are the different data he's going to harvest? What are the crown jewels in the enterprise? We can identify, because we are on the inside, we can identify all of these things, and then we can poison all of them. Poison the data for the attacker. Then it has to be enticing. Like when you deploy such a thing, it has to be enticing for him, because it has to have the right role. If you give too much of fake data, then say, hey, there's something wrong with this environment, I'll just walk away. We should not oversaturate it. It should be the best mix. It's like adding sugar to your coffee. It should be the best. You don't want to add too much or too less. And also like the type of placement, the strategy that goes in the type, the placement, where you want to place its strategy. The attacker is going to start from the front door, and to get to the crown jewel, he has to pass through multiple doors. It's not that you put your, of course in cloud, even in cloud, it's not that everything's open. Right? So you need to strategically think, you need to put all the breadcrumbs all along the way, and you need to lead him. You need to take him. If he picks at the right at door, you got early detection. If he got at the next point, of course, we give him more, and then we walk him. It's possible that we can really take him to the place where we want him to do things. And of course, with AI and domain knowledge, it's very easy to kind of build a strategy and then go deploy all of these honey tokens, or creating all of these deceptive accounts, assets in the enterprise. Now, what are the benefits of this honey accounts and honey tokens? The first thing is early detection. Actually, I will say if there's a detection, see, it is now assumed that there's assumed breach, the attacker is always on the inside. Okay, it can be internal attacker, it can be external attacker, internal threat, we don't know. It's a very, very hostile environment, right? We don't know. Attacker can be lying dormant for years. We don't know, right? So early detection is the key. The moment you have a detection, it's up to you. If you want, you can watch. Hey, this particular attacker, I'm going to watch. What is he going to do? Does he have a new TTP or a technique where he can infiltrate and then he can kind of exploit one of our servers? I'm going to watch him. It's up to you. You can watch him. If you say, no, I don't want him to be inside, then you can just block him or you can kill him right there. Then there's no data processing. For example, I go back to my world. Previously, before we did this, I was in IPS, intrusion prevention. For every signature or for every traffic that's coming in to the web firewall or any of those things, there are tons of signatures we match. Oh, is this HTTP header? Oh, is this particular encoding? We do a decrypting of the encoding and then match. It's a nightmare. Here, there's no processing to be done. You just sprinkle them. You sprinkle all of this you kind of strategically create and sprinkle these breadcrumbs everywhere. And the best part is the alerts that you're getting from this is high fidelity. For example, there's a particular mine. If nobody's touching it and somebody goes and touches it, doesn't matter it's inside or external, doesn't matter. Boom, you got the alert. And this is really high fidelity. You don't have to correlate 100 things. Probably, if you look at the actual deployment, it will be quiet. There'll be nothing happening. People will wonder, hey, is it really working? Of course, it's working. When the real attacker, when somebody touches it, then it blows up. That's when, so you might see one alert, right? Or you might see one alert in a month or in a week. But that's it. You got the actual, so it's a very high fidelity alert. And it's very inexpensive in terms of if you look at the technology, deployment, all of this, in managing all of those things, it's very, very inexpensive. Now, this part is the most, I like this part, okay? where we induce confusion and hysteria for the attacker. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. Let's say the attacker who came in, he has no idea about your environment. But that's actually not true. A lot of attackers, they know more about the environment than the actual system administrators. Okay, that's the truth. Whereas, let's say the attacker came in and then he has no idea. He's trying to, especially the kids, because they are, as I said, they're very fast, they don't care, especially these kids, or even the kids who care, or the actual serious guys. As they're doing their reconnaissance, they gather all of this information. They take this information out. They have no idea. Let's say they have no idea what is deployed. They're not expecting anything. Then they come back, they start using all of the credentials. Boom, you caught them, right? Or they triggered alerts. So they have to be super careful now. Let's say they're smart people because they expecting something to be inside. They're seeing, oh, this data is not consistent. Yesterday I came, I saw this data. Today I see something different. I'm seeing a new project. There's a new project coming up or a new event coming up. I'm not even aware of this. So we are trying to delay them. That is, we're buying time. That's super critical. And also, like, let's say they take all of this data out. They exfiltrate all of this data out, all of these tokens, everything. They're looking at this data. It looks fishy. They don't know which data to trust. Is it real? Is this really administrator? They had to go look in LinkedIn. We have all the information there. Oh, everything matches, but something is not okay. So we are buying a lot of time. And he has to be super careful now because he knows there's mines in the network. He has to be super, super careful before he goes and attempts. So this is what we need to kind of build, or we kind of go about doing it. So essentially, we are kind of completely upsiding the game for the attacker. And the last slide, basically the key takeaways. So essentially, the defense always comes in multiple layers. It doesn't matter whether it's cloud, enterprise, doesn't matter. And it's always a combination of prevention and detection. Now, cloud detection always needs a focused strategy. And honey tokens, I'll say, it provides an effective approach for cloud strategy. Very inexpensive, and create this. And it augments. It's not like you have to throw away all of your things. It augments your current security infrastructure. Yeah, that's pretty much questions. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So how do you isolate or keep it, or how do you identify all of these fake assets in comparison with real? Is that the question?
Not necessarily. So let's say I have a traditional identity access management tool like can be off, like can be anything, right? Now you have I want to create a point token for creating point for fake identification for adversary, but I get that. But how is going to work it out with honey token with traditional identity access management tool like Okta, IDA, etc.
Okay, yeah. So every application, including Okta, or it can be Vault, or it can be any of them, right? SSO. We can create something which is very specific to that application, and Okta is extremely used. SSO is extremely used. So we can create tokens or we can point to the actual Okta itself. We can create a lot of these cookies which look like real live sessions or use credentials and then deploy them. And they can be, they need to be refreshed. That's all it is. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, actually it's a full ambience. We don't, that's why I said we are just scratching the surface. It's a full ambience. We create decoys, which can be easy to instances, file shares, you name it. That's why I said we kind of create this virtual environment or a shadow environment, and then we merge with the actual environment. We'll overlap it. It's very easy. It's very easy creating, scaling honey tokens, deploying it strategically, very easy. Thank you. Thank you.